Tuesday Thoughts here on SDH. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. Thanks to those of you that tuned in early for the morning espresso and got your early fix on some of the worldwide content going on. Jason mentioned what's going on with Cristiano Ronaldo, where it looks like his time in the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote might be over. Chapter's over. Looking forward to seeing what's next. And so we'll see what the latest is there. There is the prevailing gut opinion, perhaps that he's going to find a home with somebody in the Club World Cup, just kind of hop on and see what's going on. So that's something else that you can start your morning with Jason in the Morning Espresso. So set your notifications appropriately. You can get Morning Espresso either live and in person. You can get it in the newsletter form and have it show up in your inbox. You can have it as a podcast, much like everything else that we have here on SDH. So today is looking back at the rest of the weekend in Major League Soccer and any other holdover thoughts and things from Atlanta United and their win over FC Cincinnati. The outrage in Cincinnati continues, and boy, does it continue over what happened with Latte Lot and Nick Hagland. We talked about it yesterday on a couple of different fronts. We talked about it from the perspective of the actual play and then what folks were saying about it. Obviously, opinions are somewhat divided. I know that shocks you. One particular fan base is looking at it like, well, he shouldn't have lined himself up like that. And the other fan base is saying that it's premeditated assault and that Latte Lot should be getting matches, plural, suspensions. We'll see. We will see. And this is before I get into opening kickoff. We will see if there's an envelope or anything that is brought from the league either leading into tomorrow or if something happens toward the end of the week. Obviously, with the next matches in the week being tomorrow, if you're going to do something, it's probably going to be this afternoon at some point, but we'll see what happens and we'll continue monitoring that going forward. But yes, there is the Mason-Dixon line of outrage. You kind of know where folks stand when it comes to what's going on involving that particular play. So we'll go over the rest of the week in Major League Soccer. Any other holdover thoughts and comments that you may have when it comes to Atlanta United and the win over FC Cincinnati. And then at 10:30, Kaylor Hodges joins us because it is the last Tuesday of the month. How do I know it's the last Tuesday of the month? Because my book says so. And it's since you go all the way down to 27. And so that means it's the last Tuesday. And so Kaylor Hodges from at the USL Show, at Kaylor Hodges. We're going to talk about the month that has been in USL Championship in League One. There have been some market announcements and Mark Briggs taking over in Birmingham, and we'll see what we'll see what's on Kaylor's mind as we go through USL Championship, USL League One, and get ready for Super League playoffs and Super League titles being decided, those kinds of things. So Kaylor's going to join us at 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, and we'll go over what's in Kaylor's mind. After the show is over today, we're going to catch up with Mike Gramajo at West TV down in Orlando, and we'll find out about the Purple Team, and that will be airing in tomorrow's show. Tomorrow is going to be, in a perfect world, Tyler Pilgrim from SNS. It is going to be Dylan Butler, and Mike Gramajo will be at 10:30. So what we catch up with Mike about today, we're going to air in tomorrow's show just to kind of get you ready for everything there. And that will get that started. And then once again, we'll see as many of you as humanly possible at Mercedes-Benz in the midweek for the last home match in about 6 weeks because of turf and rolling in grass and the Club World Cup and all the things. So we'll have your last home match of about 6 weeks against the Purple Team. And we'll see how Atlanta United responds when it comes to that particular matchup before they hit the road. And you have the second teams playing on Friday at Montclair. And you also have the first teams seeing who will be playing from the second teams. And they will have those folks available for you when it comes to the weekend and Atlanta United's trip to SI Stadium in Harrison, New Jersey to take on Red Bulls. So we'll see what happens as that particularly rolls. Once again, also on Friday, don't forget WPSL action. So it's going to be a very, very busy Friday for you. It will be the Twos and Red Bulls 2, and then immediately following that, over at the WPSL soccer website, Decatur FC is going to have another home match, and so Drew Dickinson and I will be there for that one. So you can catch that on the WPSL soccer website, starting a little before 7 o'clock with pregame, and 7 o'clock is your actual match time for Decatur and for UFA, I believe. So we'll catch you up with that. But a very, very busy Friday into a very, very busy weekend. All the things that are happening as we go. So Tyler, Dylan, Mike Gramajo tomorrow. Nino and Nico in the Power Hour on Thursday. And then Friday being the hours of chaos that they are. Hopefully we can catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring as a part of it. And that reminds me, I've got to try and track down Mark Fishkin. So there's your siren call. The signal for bats and other things is we'll try and catch up with our friend Mark Fishkin and find out what's going on with Red Bulls getting ready for that matchup after you go through the matchup with Atlanta United and the Purple Team. So that's where we are. All right. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and at kickoffcoffeeco.com. And there's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us, however you are doing so this morning. So you hit that QR code. You go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then what you can do is on your way out the door is you can buy out the store, but you can buy it at a 15% discount if you use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I don't know, and this is outside of political climate, but I don't know how many of you will buy things overseas. And then you wear them, like you buy things in Europe that are attached to a favorite club or a random club, or shoot, it could be your favorite, like you've got this fantastic 3-piece suit that you bought, living here in the US, and you end up, hey, you're touring Italy or something on vacation, or you're touring a European country, or you're touring a country that is not self-contained here, pinned in by the Atlantic Ocean on one side and the Pacific Ocean on the other. So in your worldwide travels, you're going places, which is kind of one up on me. But anyway, I'm living vicariously through all of you. So if you travel overseas, wherever overseas is, like if you're traveling to Polynesia, if you're going, like Honolulu, and then you go outbound, or if you go over the Atlantic and you go to London, or you go to Europe, or you go wherever that way. I don't know how many of you buy things from those locations when you are traveling, say. And I have learned over time, at least I thought anyway, and Ketsy will get into that. I don't know how many of you have thought, okay, yeah, that'd be cool just to take home and have to wear and things like that. So recently I've added some clubs to my wardrobe, random things. You sit there and you go, oh, and for me, legitimately, it is somebody's got a sale and like an end of the season sale kind of a thing. So you get that going and you're thinking to yourself, I think that'd be great if I added that to my wardrobe, or if I added that jacket to my wardrobe, if I added that particular piece of clothing to my wardrobe. And I thought that I had a decent pattern in my head about, okay, so if I want something that would be an extra large here in the States, or a double just because my laundry skills are awful, what do I do in buying something overseas? And the way that it has kind of turned out, if I'm getting something from England, say, then it's adding 1 or 2 X's to what I specifically want to have it be. So, like, if I wanted to get something and have it be an extra large, then if I buy it from England, it's a double. Or a triple if I just want it to be really baggy and something like that. And so the further away from England I go, it ends up as adding an X, basically. So it's 1X if it's England, it's 2X's if it's Europe, and then it's 3 or 4 the further away I go from Europe and head into the Middle East or the Far East, something like that. So literally it's like 2 or 3 X's added the further away I go. England is 1, Europe is 2, and then you keep adding X's as you go to the Far East. And I thought that that was a decent way to go about things, because as you see here, I don't know how many folks here in this particular part of the world have a Shrewsbury Town sweatshirt. And I have a couple of pieces of Shrewsbury gear because it was the end of the season. It was on sale. And so I was like, oh, I'll go ahead and buy it. And I also have some Feyenoord stuff that I picked up on sale. And I also have some Wrexham stuff that I picked up on sale. Wrexham was having like a 70% off sale. And so you're like, oh, I'll get that. And I thought that the X, if you add an X, was a decent way to go about it. This ended up as a triple. This is a triple X overseas in England. If you buy this, then this is a triple X sweatshirt in England itself. And you see, and literally what I did is I washed it in hot once. And so the way that it ended up here is I've got a t-shirt on underneath, and it seems to be stopping any kind of progress when it comes to putting something on. And the sleeves themselves might end up being short cuffs. So I don't know if this might be the last time that I just go 1X in England or not. Maybe it was from the club itself, and the club was like, well, there's a reason that the stuff is on special. So I didn't know if any of you were buying things overseas and having them shipped back here, and what guidelines you guys had when it came to buying something and wearing it. But for me, it was 1X, and then you go away from England, you cross the English Channel, it's 2, and then you keep adding the further east you go. But no, I had lamented here on the show about needing more sweatshirts and things like that. And so I was touring websites and teams and clubs and things at the end of the season in English football, and ended up getting a triple, which probably should have been a quad, but we'll find out. And I wanted to have some compare contrast when it came to what it was looking like when it came to buying gear, and I didn't know. So this is my comparison shopping when it comes to all of this. So me asking if I was on the right path is opening kickoff this morning, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, that's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us and watching the video version, however you are doing so. Thanks for doing so on the SDH YouTube channel, on X, and on Twitch this morning. So you hit that QR code, and what you end up with is going to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 when you check out. Gives you 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, our friends at Kickoff Coffee, and reinvest it in the stuff they think of as cool, the initiatives that they have earmarked, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All the other promos really quickly. Olive and York, you can get your SDH jersey. That helps out our Soccer for Good campaign here in 2025. Beyond Goals Mentoring on one sleeve, Soccer for Good on the other sleeve. You can go to Olive and York and get it personalized, either in white letters and numerals, or with the navy jersey, you can get it personalized in the Carolina blue, the lighter blue, the double blue, Columbia blue, whatever. Please consult Abby and Alex for comparisons to see, when you do purchase it, which one you would prefer, when it comes to the wording and the personalization, either in the white or in the double blue shades. Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. You can get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear. And it is red. It is in the black. It is sweatshirts. It is T-shirts. It is the gold embossed Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta across the front. And the cause there here in 2025 is proceeds are there to help out what is going on with middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system. So very, very cool stuff there as well. And once again, go to soccerdownhere.net. You can go there, go into the shop section. You can get all the SDH gear with the SDH logo and the two teams that Jason has retrified, the Ruckus and the Attack. You can get the Jason artwork there as a part of the process here. And once again, all of our Soccer for Good. Don't forget to join us on the Chant app. You can become a Fanatico for $10 a year. Group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. We are joined, speaking of which, is someone who is getting ready for practice. Not her own, mind you, but she's going to be visualizing what's going on with Atlanta United. And we go to a parking lot where I imagine it is close to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. Madison Cruz hopping in. Are you hopping in, getting ready for practice, or are you just loitering right now?
I'm loitering right now. Sorry, I was deciding to position it the right way. That way you could actually see me, and it's not like a weird, where it's me and then like two black boxes right there. But
yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
I just pulled up to training, so waiting to go back in there, going to go up and watch training to get ready for Wednesday, which is tomorrow, which is crazy. Everything is throwing me off.
Yes, it is doing that. And so then we're getting ready for the purple team on short notice. And then after that, getting ready for Red Bulls as everybody hits the road.
Yep.
Atlanta United will hit the road for 6 weeks, and we get to see grass being put in at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So today being the leftover days, excuse me, as we get ready for the purple team coming in. Talking about FC Cincinnati, we ran the highlights yesterday, and the one highlight that we didn't have that seems to be drawing the most ire, at least from folks on the Mason side of the Mason-Dixon line, is the Nick Hagland injury and the squaring up with Latte Lot, trying to keep him from getting to a ball, and Nick Hagland paying the price. Obviously, we are going to be the first ones to sit here and say, look, you don't wish that on anybody. You don't.
Absolutely.
But, it was a physical play, and that was the way that it ended up. With you there in the building and in the press box, kind of keeping an eye on things, what was your view of it? What was your takeaways of it? And what was your takeaways of what you got to see with Atlanta United going up against Cincinnati in the overall?
Yeah, I mean, with that play specifically, like for me, you watch it and it's clear. Like, Hagland, basically, he steps in front because here's the thing. We know the way Latte Lath plays. If he sees a bouncing ball heading the direction of a goal, you know he's going to track it down. And he can get there. We've seen it multiple times. A lot of his goals this season have come from that. I'm thinking back to NYC. Literally tracking it down, was able to get it the one touch of the ball, and he's able to make the run and go. It's kind of the same thing here. He sees the bouncing ball. He's going to try to go forward and grab it. Hagland sees that he's doing that, and he steps right in front of him to kind of like just block him from there. And Latte Lath tries to get around him, and it's a collision. I think it's one thing is soccer's a physical sport, and MLS, it's a very physical element of the game. You have to have that level of physicality, and it's so unfortunate that Hagland has that injury. That is horrible, and I'm praying and I'm hoping for his speed recovery for him, because that you don't wish that upon anyone, and that just it's so unfortunate. I don't like the narrative of painting Latte Lath as a villain and that he did it because like he wanted to. That is ridiculous, and I think that narrative being painted should be shut down immediately. And if you are painting that narrative, respectfully, you need to go touch some grass, because like you need to get sense with reality for a second, because that's uncalled for. Like saying that Latte Lath did that on purpose, like that is absolutely uncalled for. It's one of those moments. It's one of those things. If it had given a yellow, I would have been like, okay, but you know what? Fair. It's a thing with VAR. Like it's like they looked at it, they saw it, and they didn't see anything wrong with it. And it's a physical altercation. It's physical moment between two players. They're both trying to get the ball. One player's trying to stop it. It happens. It's one of those things where it's like those fouls happen all the time. Those moments happen all the time in games. it's very unfortunate that it resulted in an injury. But I don't like the narrative of painting Latte Lath as a villain and that he did this on purpose, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and we're going to keep an eye on the league office and see if anything happens in retroactive ways leading into the purple team match and leading into the matchup against Red Bulls. You got the opportunity to catch up with Ronnie Dyla coming off the pitch after the 4-2 win. You were in the locker room. What were some of the things that stuck with you in all of the interviews that you got to do after the big win against FC Cincinnati on Sunday Night Soccer?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I think everyone is very thrilled to get the win. It's a 4-2 win as well, and I think you played very well, and I think you controlled the match. And you look at the stats, and you look at possession, you look at shots and shots on target, and Atlanta didn't win any of those categories. Cincinnati did, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like Cincinnati had a lot of control, because, and that's something that I think that Ronnie Dylas talked about throughout most media availabilities, is being comfortable with the ball, but also being comfortable without it too. Like, that's a big part of the element of control. And if you notice with the high press that they were doing, they were able to put a lot of pressure on Cincinnati, win balls, and get things going. And I thought they handled it really well. And I thought that they were able to exploit Cincinnati's weaknesses and were able to come through on top. And I mean, I go back to the first goal. I mean, it's a beautifully designed set piece. It's something that they did from the training ground. Derek Williams said that after the match too. It's a beautiful ball in from Alexi to find him. They worked on that in training. He almost got another one too later on. Like, he tried it a couple of times. And I think it's something where Ronnie Dyla talked about it last after the game too. And it's about, he wanted to see the players attack those moments. He wanted to see those moments. And, he called the team out, and the team responded to it. The team said, you know what, we got to turn this around. We got to get things going. And I think we saw that. We saw that against Cincinnati. And, it's a very quick turnaround. Orlando had an extra day of rest than we did. But, you're coming into it. You got to hold that same fire from a lot of the players. They like playing back-to-back games like this because it keeps them fresh. It keeps them ready to go. I think with that win against Cincinnati is going to help move it forward into Orlando, because Orlando's going to be a little bit more, I think, on the emotional side, especially with the rivalry. I think you're going to feel it a lot more, and I think you're going to need that extra boost, and I think it's really important to have.
When you have, and Maddie Cruz here on the 1s and 2s as she gets ready for practice up at the Children's Healthcare Atlanta training ground, Atlanta United getting ready for the purple team. Pedro Amador played 60. Ronald Hernandez came in for 30.
He had a great game, too. He came in, and I was like, whoa. He almost scored, and I would have lost my mind. Lost my mind. Oh, and it was this close too. I rewatched the highlights, and I was like, oh wow, like it was so good. Anyway, continue. I apologize.
No, perfectly fine. No, the thing about Ronald Hernandez is that we know, and full disclosure, I will go ahead and say this: I am not one to get player jerseys. But if there was one to get, it would be Ronald.
Yeah, I would agree. As well.
For what Ronald means to the program and what he has been, what he is asked to do. It's like, okay, hey, Ronald, we need you in net. Okay, where are my soccer bopper gloves and where are my pads?
Yep.
That's the kind of guy that Ronald Hernandez is. And when I get to play, Ronald cussing in a post match press conference, I'm going to do that too, because that's how much he cares. Played 30, had an XG of 0.22, had the one clearance, had the one pick. He had 3 tackles in 30 minutes, won every ground duel that he had. 8 of 11 passing at 73%, had the one long ball, had the one shot obviously off target, and the one big chance missed. That's the same opportunity that we're talking about here. But Ronald comes in, gives you 30. Jamal came in to mop up for Latte Lot. He gave you 10 minutes. Click gave you 10 minutes plus, coming in for Miggy. Then Noah and Will came in to shut the door defensively. Nothing like having Noah Cobb and Will Riley come in and shut the door defensively when you've got a 2-goal advantage going up against Cincinnati. Just throw the kids out there and have them run and get in people's faces.
Yeah.
How much rotation? What are you anticipating it looking like against the purple team? Are you looking at it's like, throw the same dudes that were out there? How much rotation are you looking at?
Yeah, I'll be here for a little bit shorter, just because I think they're about to start over here, but I'll give this one too. I think we'll know a little bit more, I think, after training today, kind of what Ronnie's thinking, what the team's thinking as well. Honestly, for me personally, if the players are feeling up to it, I'd keep it the same. I'd keep it the same starting out against Orlando because you want to come out strong. And I think we saw a really strong lineup there at the very beginning. But I mean, you mentioned the names that did come in: Jamal Tiare, Mateusz Klick, you had Noah Cobb, Will Riley, and Ronald Hernandez. That shows to you how stacked this roster is and how much impact those players can have coming off and on the bench. I think we're very solid there. And I think you look at the way it could be switched out, and you could see a little bit of rotation. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe you did, just because of how long players did play against Cincy, how they're feeling too. It just depends. If everyone's feeling up to it, I say play the same lineup, play the exact same way, start out strong, and then you can rely on those players too. Because again, you got to think about it as well. You also have another quick turnaround this week because then you're going on the road to face Red Bulls. So you got to start thinking about that too. It's like, okay, which game, what's going on here? And right now, I think the most important game is tomorrow, is against Orlando, because you want to get 3 points at home before you go on this 6-game road stretch.
Yeah, and you've also got to make sure that Ronnie Dyla has a fresh supply of white T-shirts going forward.
I guess so. I guess we all gotta rep the white T-shirts now.
Yeah, so go to practice. I don't want you to be late.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
There goes Maddie. So Maddie's out the door, and she's going to go to practice, and she'll get all the good intel. And so it was good to have Maddie kind of sit in and give us the crash course for about 15 minutes about what's going on. So Maddie's going to be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. Keep an eye out for the TGD, the Training Ground Dispatch, and we'll find out what's going on with Atlanta United as they get ready for the purple team. It's good to have Maddie come in and crash. I did not know that was going to happen. So whenever Maddie is at practice and she's ready to drop an anchor and she's got a couple of minutes, literally, once again, she's got the garage door opener so she can come in at any time. But it was good to get those words of wisdom from Madison Cruz before Atlanta United gets ready for practice. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground as they get ready for the purple team tomorrow night at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Once again, it's SDH AM. John Nelson here with you. And once again, we're going to break down all the last thoughts that you guys have about Atlanta and Cincinnati. And we'll get you ready for the rest of Major League Soccer from the weekend. And then we're going to get you ready for Kaylor Hodges coming by at 10:30 when it comes to the USL Championship and such. I did want to get into some of your headlines from this morning. And obviously, Kefsey mentioned what happened in the Liverpool parade yesterday. So Merseyside police say a 53-year-old white British man has been arrested after a car collided with pedestrians during Liverpool's Premier League trophy parade, leaving 4 people, quote, very ill, end quote, in hospital. 27 people in total were taken to hospital by ambulance. I had seen reports that it was as many as 47 that were injured. Liverpool City Metro Mayor Steve Rotherham said 4 people are still very, very ill in hospital following the incident Monday night local time. And it was a full disclosure. That was where I had my television for most of the afternoon yesterday, was flipping back and forth between channels overseas. Mayor Rotherham told BBC Radio 5 Live the actual incident in Water Street will live with those people for all the wrong reasons, and that's where we have to focus our minds. Still, the 4 people who are very, very ill in hospital, we're hoping, of course, that they pull through very, very quickly, end quote. 20 people treated at the scene did not require hospital treatment. A cyclist paramedic was struck by the vehicle but did not sustain an injury. Firefighters rescued 4 people, including a child, who were trapped under the car, according to Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service Chief Fire Officer Nick Searle. It was a little after 1 o'clock our time when Merseyside police were contacted and emergency services were contacted with reports of the incident. The car was stopped at the scene, and a man from the Liverpool area detained and subsequently arrested. Police believe him to be the driver of the vehicle. Press conference yesterday, I want to say it was 6:30 our time or so. Merseyside Police Assistant Chief Constable Jenny Sims said the incident not being treated as terrorism. Speaking at a press conference, said they believe it to be an isolated incident and are not currently looking for anyone else in relation to it. And then you had in that press conference, you had Constable Sims, and you had 3 other representatives of each of the other responding agencies basically give very, very quick comments. There were no questions that were answered. There may have been questions that were tossed toward the table for any of the 4 representatives to answer. They did not. Literally, it was Constable Sims, and it was Fire and Rescue, and then it was 2 other individuals, one attached to the city of Liverpool, and you had a 4th individual. They literally gave statements, and then no questions were answered, and then that was pretty much the end of the press conference after about 10 minutes. And so that's where we are currently. And obviously, so you had 9:24 on Monday that it had cleared the scene. So that's almost 4:30 our time. 27 people taken to hospital by ambulance, 2 sustained serious injuries, 20 people treated at the scene, isolated incident. And so once again, Mayor Steve Rotherham, Metro Mayor of Liverpool City, 4 people still very, very ill in hospital. So that's what we know. And obviously we send our love to all of them and everyone who is impacted by what happened yesterday at Liverpool at the parade. So obviously we'll keep you up to date on everything there that is attached to that particular incident and the distressing and disturbing incident that happened in Liverpool yesterday. Let's say hi to everybody and who's in at this early hour. Morning, Will. Morning, David. Morning, Kefsey. Morning, Dell. No, Dell, she and I chose to not bring up this topic when she was on camera with us. Madison still has not gotten her Lady Electra jersey. Maybe Kaylor can help us out with that. We'll find out. But no, she has not received her Lady Electra jersey yet. Morning, Abby. And morning, Michael. And so that's everybody that has joined in this morning. And with our current topic of discussion with Atlanta and Cincinnati, Will Hagland initiating contact when Latte Law said he braced himself. And literally, as we walked through it yesterday, you see Hagland turning and looking and squaring up to Latte Lot as they're going down the left-hand channel. And so it is incredibly unfortunate that Nick Hagland was injured, and to the extent that he is injured, as he is still here in a local hospital. But, it was Nick Hagland trying to prevent Latte Lot from going after a ball in transition and trying to create a run down the left-hand side. And Michael's got a point, and I do want to address it coming up here as we roll through the timeline. Let's see. It's Abby has not seen the replay, but what I did want to let folks know is that you will see, and it's in the 16th minute, so it does happen early on in the match. So it is that you'll see 10-second snippets that have been posted. And once again, what I would warn in these situations is watch the entire event unfold. Don't just rely on a snippet, even though we can somewhat zapruder what happened. Then that would be, once again, it's dangerous when you deal in snippets. So what I would suggest for those of you who have Apple TV, if you're going to go watch the match and watch that incident, watch it in its entirety and watch it in full speed. Watch it at 100% and watch it in real time. And then slow it down. I believe Apple does do that. But once again, you can see Hagland square himself up instead of both running down the left-hand channel. You see Nick Hagland turn, and he's looking at Latte Lot as they're both going down the left-hand channel. Then it is Latte Lot trying to get to the ball, but Hagland is trying to prevent Latte Lot from getting there. And how many times in other sports have we seen someone, like basketball, if you want to use that as an example, block or charge? And so how many times has there been contact in an incident in a block or charge situation that has been very physical? And that is, that is something of an analogy that you can use in this situation, but you can see Nick Hagland is turned and squared to Latte Lot. And Will Hagland initiated contact. If anything, it's a foul on him. Abby saying it was 50-50. And then you have Will sitting there saying you can commit the foul and get hurt on the same play. See Garza in 2018. And this is the point that I wanted to bring up. This is the point that I wanted to bring up. from Michael, where Michael sees the Cincinnati viewpoint, wouldn't be surprised if a suspension and an envelope is coming to Marietta. Now, to your point, Michael, this is what I want to bring up in this particular instance. If VAR did not view it as the clear and obvious error that had to be reversed, then I don't know how the disciplinary committee, I mean, I know how, but I'm saying that I don't know how they can come up with something that the disciplinary committee, that VAR did not see and did not overrule. Then you have the disciplinary committee overstepping what VAR did not rule as a clear and obvious error. And we'll go back to the question that was asked. So after the match, it was asked once again. Here's what Pat Noonan said yesterday. I probably should pull the audio. So Noonan said he didn't receive any feedback on why there was no foul or a card upon further review. Called on Latte Lot for the hit on Hagelin, nor did he expect any further communication on the matter. Quoting Noonan from the press conference. You know, what are they going to say? They missed another play? Question mark. If anybody's going to get an envelope, it may be Noonan for leading off a quote by saying, well, what are they going to say? They missed another play? Does Pat Noonan get an envelope in this? It's strange. There's quote continues. It's strange. There's nothing going on in that area of the field. Well, actually, there is. They're both chasing after a ball in transition, where Nick's moving in with the ball, but I haven't seen the way the impact happened. It shouldn't, and is it kind of a freak incident? I think you can kind of see where humans are, players are, and players are in and around you to avoid, something like that happening. But how malicious it was, I don't know. But it was obviously enough force in where Nick's not expecting it, and now he's punished for it. If I'm gonna read those last two lines again. But how malicious it was, I don't know. And then he follows it up by saying it was obviously enough force where Nick's not expecting it, and now he's punished for it. I would say, as a defender, when you are turned and squared going up against an offensive player in a transition moment, you're anticipating some kind of contact, or you're anticipating an offensive and a defensive movement. That's just me in this incident. Now, continues. A pull report inquiry was submitted to clarify whether the incident was reviewed, which it was. VAR's job is to check for a potential clear error or serious missed incident in only 4 match-changing situations. Remember, we talked about this with Bart yesterday. Goals, penalty kicks, straight reds in cases of mistaken identity. It would have to be number 3, and it would have to be a straight red. Latte Lot's collision with Hagelin was reviewable to see if there was a clear missed red card, but VAR determined no error. Pro stated in their response, quote, the referee saw the situation clearly and deemed it not to be a foul. The play was checked by VAR for a potential red card to make sure that no clear and obvious error was made on the field. The VAR confirmed that no error was made, end quote. What you would be doing in that moment, is if Disco comes in behind VAR and presents an envelope to the Children's Health Care of Atlanta training ground, then I believe that you're re-adjudicating the play. What you are saying is that VAR erred in a clear red card situation. Is that movement that Latte Lot had in going after a ball while being defended by a squared up Nick Hagelin? Squared meaning that he is looking perpendicular to Latte Lot. Nick Hagland is turned and he's looking, and they're both heading down the left channel. Then what the disciplinary committee, either very, very quickly or at the end of this week, but my guess is for immediate impact, it would probably have to be something decided today. What the disciplinary committee would be processing, if I'm following the logic here, is the idea that VAR erred in not thinking that it was a clear and obvious error to deliver a red card in that moment. How that would be viewed as a straight red card would be the question here. So that is the gazillion-dollar question here when it comes to what you're staring at. If an envelope was to leave New York City and head to the Children's Health Care of Atlanta training ground addressed to Atlanta United, care of insert individual here. What Disco would have to do is go, VAR messed up. It should have been a straight red. But then Pro looked at it and they were like, no, it was not. Then you go down a very slippery slope of incidents like that may come in the future across the board of individuals in collisions and then re-adjudicating not once but twice. And what I mean by that is that the play on the field was looked at by VAR for a clear and obvious error. It was judged not to be a clear and obvious error on a straight red. Then the disciplinary committee coming in over the top of VAR and saying, yes, it was a clear straight red, which I do not think this was. Nick Hagland was down for 4 minutes, and then he was brought up to his feet, and then he was slowly walked off and subbed off by Teenage Adibi, so you didn't have a power play for 2 minutes, basically. But the thing to look at here in this case, and I have seen some wild narratives out there that Latte Lot you've had mischaracterizations of Latte Lot, and you've seen literally, we talked about it yesterday on Twitter, north of the Mason-Dixon line attached to this club, where it was premeditated assault. That one sticks in your head. Premeditated assault, and that he needs to be suspended for multiple matches. Those are the two, and that Guido Gonzalez Jr. has it out for FC Cincinnati. Every single time he's called a match against FC Cincinnati, it's always been against FC Cincinnati. At the end of the day, what this is another one of those moments that you look at and you wonder how the league is going to respond. But you have a fan base that is aggrieved, and they're throwing any comment up against the wall. They're going after the center ref. They're going after the player that committed the foul and going to the extreme of committing the offense. But the larger issue here, keep an eye on the disciplinary committee. Because if Pro in the booth says, we looked at it, it wasn't, because it's not a goal, it's not mistaken identity. And it's not a penalty kick, so it's a straight red card, a match-changing situation. Was this a straight red card? No. In my view, it was not. Literally, you have two folks, one trying to prevent another from going after a ball in transition. It is a transition moment. And Nick Hagland, once again, perpendicular to Latte Lot, is trying to defend as both players are heading down the left channel. ATLUTD is going to do what he needs to do to get to the ball. Nick Hagglund is going to do what he feels he needs to do to prevent ATLUTD from getting there. It was a defensive play. It was a 1v1 situation, trying to get to a loose ball. Is it a straight red card? No. But then you have all of the after effects. And like I said, I am the first person, and Madison said it as well, that in this situation, you wish nothing but a 135,000% recovery for Nick Hagglund. And anybody who doesn't, once again, following Maddie's advice, needs to go touch some grass. Nick Hagglund, from what we understand, is still here in a local hospital. But Nick Hagglund was once again trying to defend and keep ATLUTD from getting to the ball. End of story. It is not a straight red card situation. ATLUTD is going to do whatever he's going to do with his momentum carrying him forward, and Nick Hagglund carrying himself sideways to try to keep from getting to the ball. But if the disciplinary committee feels fit in their decision-making processes to send an envelope to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, I think once again you set a very dangerous precedent. Because there is listening to what we've been listening to over the last day plus in the public sphere, going up against the video and the situation that was seen. And like I said, I would think that Pat Noonan should be getting just as much of an envelope, or he should be getting an envelope as well. Because if Pat Noonan is going to sit here and say, you know, what are they going to say? They missed another play? Literally, that's how his soundbite starts. That, to me, should deserve an envelope as well. Because once again, you're challenging the referees in that situation. But keep an eye on the disciplinary committee. This is where the spidey senses go up. Keep an eye on Disco and see if they try and do something later today, or if, as they monitor video and do whatever they do, that something comes out at the end of the week. But I think that this is something that we have to keep an eye on, because you then put a tag on a player that is unnecessary and is wrong. We know what the Cincinnati fans want. Pitchforks, sticky torches, the whole bit. But keep an eye on the disciplinary committee between now and whenever. Since this match week, I believe, starts now. Coming out of the last match week, keep an eye on things before this next match week starts. So my guess is it would probably come out later today, if it's going to come out at all. So there you go. And Derek, to your point, yeah, it was a soccer play that went sideways. Physical contact resulting in a serious injury, but it was a soccer play. It was not something that was off the rails, where it was an over-the-top reaction to a moment. Yeah, but yes, Derek, you did end up coming into round number 2 of reffing down here. And David, once again, are we adjudicating the action or the result? The NHL is famous for this. Also, if Disco thinks this is something needing to be done, it does indicate that the officials were wrong. And that's the other part in this. What you were doing, and to reinforce this as an element of this particular play, if Disco sends an envelope, then what you are doing is you're calling out the officials. You are saying that the officials got it wrong. You're saying that the on-field official crew got it wrong. You're saying that Guido Gonzalez and his crew got it wrong, and you're also saying that VAR got it wrong in the oversight. So not just one step, but 2 wrong. As I said, this would be in my view, it would be a precedent that I don't think you want to set, because you can't walk that back. Disco will have then overruled VAR and the officiating crew on a play. So we got to keep an eye on that. Yeah, roughing down here. Morning, Sharif, by the way. Yes, and Michael, yes. Liverpool's authorities' vernacular, Haglund is very ill, but we wish nothing but a 190 gazillion % recovery for Nick Haglund, who, by all indications, is still here in a hospital in Atlanta. So, but like I said, keep an eye on the disciplinary committee in this case. Like I said, the 10 seconds are out there, and it's Zaprudered and all that kind of stuff. But go back, if you've got Apple TV, go back to the 15th minute, watch the play in its entirety at real speed. Real speed. So we'll keep an eye on that. Okay. News of the morning as we go. And there's some interesting things that are out there. So it looks like the June camp call-ups have happened. Michal Probierz has announced list of players called up for the Poland national team June camp. Biale Orje will play against Moldova in a friendly, and then afterwards against Finland, June 6 and June 10 in a World Cup qualifier. And Mateusz Bogisz is there. Bartosz Slisz has been named. Adam Buksa has been named. Karl Świderski has been named. Piatek has been named. So I guess the bigger piece on the Pomocniczni, Bogisz, Slisz, and then Buksa and Świderski have been named. So June 6 and June 10, Biale Orle playing Moldova and Finland. So Bart Slisz has been called up to the Polish national team for this particular go-round. I would recommend for those of you on the 280-character app, if you do not follow Johannes Schneider, who is the stats guru for Atlanta United in their communications department, please do. He is a must-follow when it comes to all of the really cool stats, and we call them I call them Joe Bombs, basically. When he comes up with stats that are really cool from the past match, Johannes has come up with a couple of these. He says a couple of stats that stood out to him from the win on Sunday. 5 block shots on defense, tied for a season high. 30 tackles and interceptions, third most this season. And 4 goals scored, none by the DPs. The only third time that Atlanta have scored 4+ goals in a regular season match, and none from the DPs. So follow Johannes to get all of your really cool stats from a game day on Atlanta United at Joe Cool WU. David, is there any way to mute Johannes's Nick Stakes? That I don't know. So at Joe Cool WU, Johannes Schneider on the 280-character app. So he always has some really cool stats that are buried from what we may not see on the surface from Atlanta United matches. Let me run through some of the news before we get into the rest of Major League Soccer from the weekend. Ben Jacobs is traditionally busy this morning. Al Hilal have made a final offer to Bruno Fernandes worth about £700,000 a week, significant bonuses. They want an answer by Thursday. Manchester United remain intent not to sell and are yet to receive an approach. And that also comes from Chris Wheeler at the 4-letter paper. Once again, he's got 72 hours to decide if he wants to go. Basically, it's like 35 million pound a year deal to go to Al Hilal. Bristol City are set to make a move for Montreal defender George Campbell. So George Campbell could be heading to Bristol City. International expected to cost around $1 million, and that comes from £1 million. So keep an eye on George Campbell. Mihailo Mudryk is in Wrocław. We'll watch the Conference League final. Chelsea are aware he has contributed to the European run. Mudryk remains provisionally suspended. Once again, remember, it comes to the samples that were taken in his moments as a player at Chelsea. And once again, remember, bottom of the hour, it is Kaylor Hodges from the USL Show. Very, very busy day for our friends at the USL Show. The Semi-Pro USL Show, that just ended. They have an appearance with us at 10:30. They have a redacted appearance at 1, and then they have the USL show at 9 o'clock Eastern time. So keep an eye on all of that. So keep an eye on all of those things. So 10th minute, thank you, Del, because it was the 4 minutes down. 16th minute was when he left. Okay, so watch from the beginning, watch in real time, and keep an eye on. And yes, they will run replays and such, but keep an eye on Haglund. It's not two folks running straight down the path. Haglund turns and is staring at Latte Lot as Latte Lot is coming down, and literally it is a perpendicular event. So keep an eye on that when it comes to what we look at over the next little bit. Other gossip, rumor, and innuendo, we'll do that, and then what to watch and where to watch it and how to watch it. We'll get to that on the other side. So all these things that are kind of colliding here. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And then we'll do what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And by the way, congratulations, and I'm going to pat myself on the back here a little bit. First off, thanks to Nofo Brewing for having the watch party first thing yesterday morning for the League Two promotion playoff involving AFC Wimbledon and Walsall. They're on the Walsall jersey, by the way. And there's a really cool story of Nofo Brewing and how they have gotten involved in the game overseas. And so they're part of Walsall's, I think they're on Walsall's training top. And because Walsall was playing AFC Wimbledon yesterday in the League Two playoff final, it was an opportunity for them to open the doors up early. AFC Wimbledon wins it 1-0. And for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you saw me post the scarf from the Plymouth Argyle final back in 2016 when Akinfenwa got the game-winning PK in PKs to get them promoted. So it's a promotion for it is a promotion, people. It's a promotion for our friends at AFC Wimbledon knocking off Walsall, but it was a great match, and it was really, really cool to see the Dons get promoted again. Manchester City ramping up their pursuit of Tiani Reinders from AC Milan, expected to command a fee of more than £55 million. That's from the four-letter paper. Casemiro and Garnacho among the players Manchester United want to move on as they look to reduce their squad for next season. They've also held talks with Brentford and Brian Mbeumo, who's valued at around £50 million. Newcastle also holding showdown talks with Liam Delap as they try to convince him to join them instead of Everton, United, or Chelsea. They also have a serious interest in Joao Pedro at Brighton, meaning Newcastle. Chelsea have discussed the move for Eintracht Frankfurt's Hugo Ekitike. They have significant interest in Gyökeres and Delap. Frankfurt value Chelsea's target Ekitike at £84 million, albeit with a negotiable payment structure. Joe Bellingham is in Germany for transfer talks with Eintracht Frankfurt. 2 days after helping his club win promotion, Dortmund and Leipzig are also interested. Manchester United want Wolves right back Nelson Semedo, be a free agent this summer. Leverkusen sporting director Simon Rolfs has confirmed Liverpool's concrete interest in Florian Wirtz. Napoli sporting director Giovanni Manna says they've been working on a deal to sign Kevin De Bruyne for some time and, quote, can see the finish line, end quote. The contract expires next month. Chelsea, Bayern, Manchester United have all shown concrete interest in signing Rafa Leao. Newcastle decided against taking up the option to extend Callum Wilson's contract, but have entered negotiations about a new incentive-based deal. And Ligue 1 newcomers Paris FC are interested in signing Idrissa Gueye, whose contract at Everton expires next month. That's your gossip for the day when it comes to overseas. Our friends at The Athletic, we mentioned what was going on with the officials and the PGMOL. A £30 million shortfall, $41 million. It's going to cost them a minimum of £30 million by not making it into Champions League, being reduced to the Europa League. And so keep an eye on that and what Villa continues to do to complain in the public sphere, but they feel that it has cost them £30 million. You have Opta's predictions with Liverpool being what it was at the end of the season. So Opta had a final of the top five: Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle. Newcastle and Villa having the pressure of PSR over the last 12 months, Villa's financial concerns unlikely to ease without championship earnings. At Chelsea, they thought that Enzo Maresca's job was on the line, and they had to make a top 5 finish happen at the death. And so Maresca was asked about the 1-0 win at Nottingham Forest. The Italian said, F off to all of them. That'll go well with the fans, I'm sure. Ruben Amorim grabbed a microphone, apologized to Old Trafford for a disaster season. And so he told Garnacho that he's out. A body language expert. And so there's a ruthless streak in Amorim, and perhaps it'll win out. But the full story of United's bad season, Laurie Whitwell has the article at The Athletic that lays bare the scale of the mess. A body language expert earning £175,000 a year to help with penalty shootouts. Xabi Alonso was announced as the new head coach at Real Madrid on a 3-year deal. Bayer Leverkusen now has Erik ten Hag as the man in charge. Florian Wirtz could be the biggest transfer of the season. Jonathan Tah is going to join Bayern Munich on a free. Johnny Infantino told a YouTuber called I Show Speed, who I'm sure the kids enjoy, that Cristiano Ronaldo could play at the Club World Cup despite the fact his club will not be there. So, keep an eye on Cristiano Ronaldo and see who his hired gun team is for the Club World Cup. Apparently, Messi and Suarez had a players-only meeting for Messi and friends. The 95th minute equalizer to get the 3-3 draw with Philadelphia. San Diego and LA Galaxy have jointly condemned the scenes from the MLS match at Snapdragon. Social media videos, and I don't know if you saw this. The social media videos of what was going on in the 200 section at Snapdragon, it was some heavy duty fighting. I mean, it was disappointing. It was distressing. It was disturbing. And it was going on in the 200 section. And it was some nasty stuff going on. But both teams came out very, very quickly to condemn all of the above. Okay, so what happened last Saturday and Sunday? We'll go over it right here. Seattle over Dallas 1-0. They were the noon kick. San Diego and LAG. LAG once again finding another way to lose. Another way to lose. Diego Fagundes scored in the 40th minute. Luca De La Torre evened it up less than a minute later, and it was that way until 90+5 when Chucky Lozano scored. So LAG continues to lose. They have not won this season. They have not. Meaning 0 wins. They have not. Charlotte and Columbus in a 3-2 shootout at the Bank of America Stadium. Ibrahim Aliyu, I did not have on the bingo card, scoring in the 15th minute. Patrick Ajimang, Big Pat, had a brace within 5 to make it 2-1. Malte Amundsen tied it at 2, and then Pep Biel scored with 15 minutes to go to make it a 3-2 final for Charlotte. So big 3 points for Charlotte at home last weekend. We'll go through juice boxes, too, as we get you ready for what's going on. We'll see if anything changes between now and tomorrow. Red Bull shut out DC United. Christian Benteke did not start. 2-0 win for Red Bulls. Montreal and LAFC at Stade Saputo. You thought, and we've always maintained, how CF Montreal and Stade Saputo, a very, very tough place to play. Giacomo Vrioni scored in the 5th minute, and then you had Owusu off of Denny Bouanga takedown inside the 18. This was one that I probably should have talked to Bart about. So Owusu scores from the spot to make it 2-0. It doesn't hold up. Mark Delgado scores in the 38th. That was what it was at the half. And then Olivier Giroud scores with 13 minutes to go. 2-2 draw, and that was your final. So Montreal had a draw snatched from the jaws of a win in that particular matchup. Orlando over Portland 1-0. Like I said, we'll catch up with Mike Gramajo off air today. We'll run that tomorrow in the 10:30 segment and find out about the 1-0 win against Portland and what to anticipate with the 3-headed monster coming to town to take on Atlanta tomorrow night. Philadelphia and Miami, we figured it was going to be a batch of crazy. We'll get into the over in a bit. For those that are 5.5, for those of you who had 5.5 in your books when it came to the juice boxes, if you had 5.5, then you probably did really well with your over and your under and your juice boxes. So let's go back and see. Well, let's go back and see what the juice boxes were for 5.5 involving Philadelphia and Messi and friends. By the way, the 90-minute draw was at plus 279 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. 5.5, by the way, the over at 5.5 was a plus 538. So you did pretty well there. So it was the chaos that was attached to Philly and Miami, and it took legitimately 2 goals late in a comeback, Messi on a free kick, and then Segovia at 90 plus 5 after Quinn Sullivan scores and Barabo scored to make it 2-0. Allende scored to make it 2-1. Barabo got his brace to make it 3-1. Messi scores on a free kick in the 87th to make it 3-2. And then Segovia scores at 90 plus 5 to get you your 3-3 draw. Players only meeting, I guess, only helped out in the final 10 minutes. So you end up with 1 point each for Messi and friends in Philly. Nashville beats Toronto 2-1 at BMO. Kansas City and the Revs had its own share of chaos. Once again, 3-3 by the time it was done. Shankali scored. Bartlett on an own goal made it 2-0 after 23 minutes. That's what it was at the break. 3 goals in 8 minutes for Kansas City put the game on its head. Shallowy, Joveljic from the spot, and Garcia. And then Maxi Urruti scored for the first time in 2 years, I believe. In the 84th minute, 3-3 draw for Sporting and the Revs. And that was not that was not the only 3-3 match on the day. Literally, you had 3 3-3 matches. Minnesota and Austin, probably one of the surprises since it was at Allianz and it was a 1-1 draw. Colorado over all caps 1-0. That one was starting late because of weather. Vancouver comes back to beat RSL at America First 3-2. Gozo and Diego Luna score in the first 4 minutes. And you're going, oh, snap. But then Brian White scores twice in 5 to have everything even at 2s. And then Vite scores in the 90th minute. Vancouver leaves with a 3-2 win. And just when you think that you're done, you're not on your Saturday. San Jose and Houston, they had their share of silly. Ezequiel Ponce scored. Andrade scored to make it 2-0 Houston with 40 to go. Preston Judd scored twice in 6 minutes. San Jose scores 3 times in 10 to take a 3-2 lead, and then Griffin Dorsey scored at 90 plus 1. And so San Jose and Houston end up with a 6-goal thriller, 3-3 by the time they were done. Then you had your 2 matches on Sunday. We talked about Atlanta and Cincinnati. That's always going to be on the table. But our Jessica Charman had her Apple TV debut with NYC in Chicago at Yankee Stadium. And we've got to have Jess on to find out what it was like for her. Because you had the Gutierrez red card that we discussed, and frankly, that was an easier red to call than a lot of others, as Brian Gutierrez basically jumps up and then launches up with his elbow into the grill. That was a pretty easy red. Zinkernagel had scored to make 1-0 Chicago after 19 minutes. Brian Gutierrez was wondering what he got called for. Dude, you got called for raising up an arm with an elbow and making contact with somebody in the jaw. So after Gutierrez gets the red, Chicago's playing with 10. They get to the half. 1-0 at the half with Chicago. Bakrar scores. Hannes Wolf scores. NYC now has a 2-1 lead. And then we went into the Avila red card, which was the softer of the two. And I really don't know how much contact was made, to be honest. We played it yesterday. But Davila gets a red in the 84th. So Chicago is playing 2 men down. And Martinez scores from the spot in the 89th, 3-1 your final, NYC over Chicago. But like I said, most important sidebar in that one was Jessica Charman's Apple TV debut. Like I said, we'll catch up with Jess. We have to catch up with Jess on a couple of different things. Her beloved Reading now have a new owner. Thank God. And so they no longer have to be Reading till they die. They now have an owner who is an Arkansas lawyer. We'll see if we can catch up with him now that I think about it. And so Jess got to call NYC in Chicago on the weekend for Apple TV. We'll catch up with her about that. We'll find out what her thoughts are on Major League Soccer and USL Super League and all the things. When we can catch up with her and we can, like, we can do something to the tires in her car briefly. Sit there and it's like, look, we're going to pull the plug. We'll fill the tires back up, but we just need to borrow you for a couple of minutes. So we need to catch up with Jess and find out what it was like, because I think she has one more immediate call on Apple, and we'll get the previews on all of that stuff. So that's the week that was when it came to Major League Soccer, and we get to find out where folks are. We'll go into the standings and let you know where everything is. And by the way, fix your fantasy, fix your fantasy, fix your fantasy, because it's a double match week. Eastern Conference, Philly, 15 matches, 30 points, a point ahead of Cincinnati. Nashville's at 27 points. They have one more win than Orlando, and by Columbus. And Orlando has the purple team has a better goal difference by +5 over Columbus. That gets us to 6, and NYC at 24 points. Messi and Friends match in hand. They are at 23. And we talked about the defensive deficiencies. They have not gone away. Even if they were to win the match in hand, they would be the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference right now. Charlotte is at 22. Red Bulls are at 21. That's your play-in right now after 15 matches. New England, by the way, has 2 matches in hand. They're at 19 with Chicago. Atlanta is at 14 points, 7 points out of the playoffs right now at 15 matches. DC is same record as Atlanta, but a worse goal difference, far worse. Toronto is at 13 points through 15 matches. Montreal 1-9-5. They have scored 10 goals in 15 matches this year. They've given up 25. So 1 2/3 is their goals against average. And it is 2/3 of a goal a game is what they are averaging in scoring. And once again, if you missed the news, it appears that Bristol City might be chasing after George Campbell to the tune of $1 million to send George Campbell to Bristol City from CF Montreal. So once again, we'll keep an eye on that as we try to take care of Nasty Moorland Q. And we always thank each and every one of you that report these things. It's like, tell us more. Well, want to know what's more? Viewer solicitation bot. 23 characters, spelled correctly, reports submitted, and get Nasty Moorland out of here. So that's your Eastern Conference, and we took care of a bot. Western Conference, Vancouver, 14 matches. So Vancouver's got a match in hand because of everything that they've been doing. 4 points clear of San Diego. Minnesota's at 26 points. And by the way, they still don't want the ball. LAFC is at 23. And get this, LAFC, Seattle, and Portland all have an identical record of 6-4-5. They're separated by 3 goals in goal difference. LAFC's at +5. Seattle is 2 behind. Portland is 3 behind. So any one of those 2 teams behind LAFC, if they have a good day, they can pass by LAFC and hop into 4th and get the last home playoff spot. 22 points for Colorado right now, so Colorado is in the discussion if they can string a good week together after 15. San Jose's at 19, identical record with Austin, far better goal difference. San Jose has scored 32 goals this season in MLS. 32 goals scored by San Jose. They are the number one offense in Major League Soccer. They're also probably toward the bottom in defense, having given up 26. But San Jose right now, highest scoring team in Major League Soccer, north of 2 goals a match. Far better goals difference than Austin. They are plus 13 in goal difference head-to-head. Austin is 9th at 19 points. Houston is at 17 points. FCD is at 16 points. It is not a good year for professional soccer in Texas. Austin, Houston, Dallas, 9, 10, and 11. RSL's at 14 points. Sporting is at 13 points. They've kind of found their sea legs a little bit after the poor start under Peter Vermes. Kerry Zavagnin has kind of given them new coach bump. How much more of a bump can they get with it? All Caps right now at 2-8-5. They've only scored 11 goals in 15 matches. They've given up 20. Of course, Roman Berkey has been injured for some of this run, and Ben Lunt has been between the sticks. So keeping an eye on All Caps and Olaf Melberg, because we were talking about it last week. Is Melberg out of a job, and is Luch Pfannenstiel close behind? And keep an eye on all of that. And then LAG, 0-11-4. 0-11-4, 4 points on the year. They've scored 13 goals in 15 matches. Not even a goal per match. And that has taken some improving. Marco Reus a double the other day. 35 goals allowed by LAG in 15 matches. So that's 2 1/3. 2 1/3 goals allowed per match. 15 and 35, 2, 30, 5 over 15 is a third. So 2 1/3 goals per match allowed by LAG. 0-11-4. 0-4-2, 0-7-2. They have already played 9 away games. 9 away games this season. Yep, Sharif. Yep, he was a center back. Yeah, Sharif George Campbell came up through the Atlanta United system, hit the log jam, and then was sent to CF Montreal a couple seasons back. So, yes, we will be keeping an eye on George Campbell and if he makes his way to Bristol City. Just saying. Looking at LAG's schedule once again. 0-11-4. Cali Classico is tomorrow night. Then you host RSL on the weekend. That gets you out of the month of May. Legitimately, I could see the matchup against RSL be one that you're favored in at home. Then to start the month of June after the international window, you go to St. Louis to take on All Caps. Maybe it's there. But this week, you get to the halfway point of the season. Home match with San Jose. Home match with RSL. I'm looking at the RSL match. Because then after that, once again, you're away from home in the month of June. And I remember when we were looking at their schedule and we were thinking that it might be the end of May in the matchup against RSL where you get your first win when you're 0-11-4. In June, after the international window, All Caps, then you get a weekend off. But then midweek weekend, it is at Colorado, at San Jose, at Stanford Stadium for the return of Cali Classico North. That gets you through June. I don't know. I legit don't know. Is it the matchup against RSL? I'm thinking to get that first win at the halfway point of the season, to get your first win of the season. That's what I'm staring at anyway. When it comes to Los Angeles Galaxy, man, I did not have that at all. I mean, as things have gotten worse, we've still circled that matchup against RSL. We legitimately have. But seriously, 0-11-4. 0-11-4. Yeesh. Yeesh. So that's where we are. Let's see. Let's do gossip. Let's do what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it before Kaylor Hodges joins us at the bottom of the hour and takes us through everything USL Championship, USL League One, and then we'll go through all the other news on the other side. It is Bien and Bien en Español, and that's another promo that we'll cut here in a second. Doubleheader in Copa Libertadores tonight in Bien. Libertad Alianza Lima is at 6. River Plate and Universitario is at 8:30. Simulcast on Bien en Español. If you do not have the BNs, you can get all the BNs, Nuestra Tele, CDO, For the Fans, TIC, Liga 1 Max Pro, our buddy Nino Torres and Gold TV. I think Tigo Sports occasionally. I know that BN has started ducking into Canal 4 to bring in some Central American soccer. You can get all that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out, continue your quest to be a true degenerate when it comes to looking at all the leagues around the planet. You can get more at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. The other matchup today is Bundesliga B, promotion relegation playoffs. Eintracht Braunschweig and Saarbrücken is at 2:30. For the true sickos among us, and there are plenty, Bundesliga B, promotion relegation playoffs. Eintracht Braunschweig and Saarbrücken at 2:30. But once again, Libertadores doubleheader tonight, 6 and 8:30 on Bien and Español. So that's what you're staring at. Like I said, very, very busy day for our buddy Ben Jacobs when it comes to everything going on, who is going what and where and when. We'll keep an eye on all the other pundits and find out what else is going on. We'd mentioned Bristol City and George Campbell. We mentioned Bruno Fernandes, who's given the 72-hour notice. Bruh, you got 72 hours to figure it out. Paul Mitchell's leaving Newcastle by mutual consent at the end of June. Leaving at a time that's right for me in the club, particularly with Darren Eales, someone who I've worked with closely with in my career, moving on soon. Club's in great hands on and off the pitch in a fantastic position to continue building. The other piece of news, Mary Earps retires from international football with immediate effect this morning. 53 caps for England, won Euro 2022 as the Golden Glove in the 23 Women's World Cup. Quote, in truth, life without international football scares me a little. That said, I'm so excited to turn my full focus to club football. So Mary Earps is retiring from international football with immediate effect. Ange Postecoglou has gone on holiday without clarity over his future at Spurs. Daniel Levy's going to decide whether to continue with him. As he said, as Ange said at the Europa League parade, and All the Best TV series, Season 3 is better than Season 2. So you keep an eye on that. Andre Santos called up for Carlo Ancelotti's first Brazil squad, set to get his first cap since 2023. So you've got all that. All right. Last Tuesday of the month, which means one thing. It means we go to Birmingham-ish, Birmingham adjacent, and we find out what's going on the planet to the areas of the University of West Alabama and some fantastic barbecue if you know where to go look. Kaylor Hodges, the USL Show. Am I lying? There's some fantastic barbecue in West Alabama.
There is some fantastic barbecue in West Alabama, although what's going on in West Alabama is just non-stop rain. It's like I'm living in Seattle. What's going on?
I don't know. You tell me. I mean, we know what's going on because it's what you get first comes our way. So you get to be the one who anticipates what's headed this way. So we keep an eye on you. We know it's coming this way pretty quick.
Yeah, right now I think Tuscaloosa's had like 12 inches of rain and it's not even done with May yet. So like I'm just tired of it. And it's raining right now. So I don't know. I don't know what to do.
So school year's over, right?
Yes, it is.
So how did you survive this particular school year? Now that you're out, how much time do you get to give yourself to do things other than school?
I've given myself like 2 weeks before I start planning ahead and just figuring out what's going on because frankly, I get really bored. I just get really antsy, which it probably explains why I'm just doing all the soccer podcasting stuff that I can, because I don't know what to do.
Well, you were on one before you came on with us this morning, and then you've got
Yep.
one that's redacted at 1 o'clock before you go on tonight. Is that right?
Yeah, one redacted. We have an interview, making sure that it doesn't there's some things that are a little bit in the air, so that's when we can't exactly release it. But if it does, make sure it does happen. It will be added on to the USL show tonight. It's on exclusive interview, just to give people a little bit of a teaser.
Well, excuse me. So that's intriguing to say the very, very least. The month that was in USL Championship, USL League One, and the USL Super League, Lou City picked up an old friend
Yes, it
on
did.
loan from Lexington. Break this down.
Yeah, broken by our good friend Benton Neiman. Cameron Lancaster, that one, returns back to Louisville, his rightful home. And there's a few parts to this. I think the more intriguing part to this is the Lexington side, because I mean, they keep signing players. They cannot stop themselves from signing players. They see a player and they just can't help it. And they're running up on roster limits, so they're having just to constantly loan people out. Someone like a Lancaster, even though Lexington can't score, I guess, with new coaches coming in, maybe Lancaster didn't fit the vision, and there was a obvious landing spot for him to go. And whether Lancaster plays, I don't know, the last 10 minutes of every other match, who cares? It's a standing ovation every time he comes on. It was an obvious landing spot for him. And the first league match that he's going to be available for is the Rowdies. So rivalry, and the Rowdies are bad. Lancaster's scoring a hat trick because narrative alone, it's a hat trick, and that's obvious.
Oh man, why are the Rowdies so bad?
I hate to boil it down to this, but they're old.
Okay.
They're not stepping to the ball. They're not moving quick, and it's not like they were all extremely athletic, extremely quick. They didn't have to see the game before it happened as much because they were just so good. But this is the same team they had in 2021.
Ooh.
It's been 4 years and serious injuries for a lot of these players, and they're still not reading the game as fast. They're not picking the game up as quickly as they should. And so they're not stepping to the ball. They're letting teams take easy shots. They can't control the ball. They have bright spots, but a large portion of this team is just old. And there are some ways that you can mature, and it's, you see the game faster and you just have the experience, but they're not reacting at the same speed as they're processing. And it's just, they're slow.
And they are not the only team in the Eastern Conference right now that only has one win. Indy 11 is only one win out of the block, so they have matches in hand on everybody else around them. Hartford Athletic, one win. Tampa Bay, one win. So then what's the difference between a very old Tampa Bay team and one win Hartford and one win Indy?
Indy, I would say you see the signs of life and what they have in the Jägermeister Cup. They've already played both of their League One matches, and they won both of them. And you see what they can be, especially against a very good One Knox team. Granted, the goal they scored was an absolute banger from like 40 yards away. So what can you take away from that? Hartford, they have two of the best wingers in the league, and they can carry a team. I feel like that alone kind of does something.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. Really, when you're looking at the worst teams in the league, for me, it's pretty comfortably Hartford. But Tampa Bay and Hartford are in the same conversation, which is not where you thought Tampa Bay would ever be.
So then is Lexington, as they sign everyone and then have to loan them out, where are they right now in the pecking order of the worst? Because they're 1-5-5. They've only won once in 11, but they're not like bad, awful, bad, horrible, no good, very bad, day-ish bad, are they?
I think Lexington can go one of two ways, and it is 2024 El Paso and 2024 Rhode Island,
Got it. Okay.
where they are signed all this great talent on paper. They look awesome. They're not getting killed. Like the only game that they got killed was against Loudoun, who's one of the best teams in the league, and also they got a pretty, frankly, awful red card called against them. It was a horrific call, and after that, the game completely fell apart. They aren't getting killed. They're drawing half their matches. You think that the talent will figure itself out once they land on a starting 11, but it's hard to have a solid starting 11 when you don't even have a solid roster of 30. So like, what can you do? But also there's the El Paso side of, you saw the talent, you looked at the names of El Paso and you're like, that's a good team. And then you watch them play and you're like, oh God, what is this? And I feel like you could see it go either way with them.
Since we were talking about the East and really bad, traditionally a team that is really bad in the Eastern Conference is not a Miami FC, but the Miami FC.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not bad. What's going on here?
I feel like I said it every time I've come on here. This is a good Miami team where this year they decide to trade out like Italians for Argentinians, and I guess that makes all the difference.
Okay.
But last year they went the full youth movement, and I don't even know what their average age was, but you were either 17 or 38, and that's kind of, there was no in between. But they've grown up a lot. They've gotten a little bit older. They've cut and they brought in some of the super old. Let's not lie to ourselves. Like Blanco and Bill Hamid are old.
Yes.
But
yes.
Filio has been arguably the best striker in the league. They're finishing their chances. They're staying defensively stout. They have wingers who can beat you. They took everything that you thought would be bad about them, but they've turned themselves into a gritty, good counterattacking team who can actually hold possession now. They've started getting comfortable enough in the system to do what they can do. At the beginning of the season, I think my exact words to you were good team, bad results. And now we're starting to see decent results.
I mean, you look at this roster, Alan Gavilanes, who we've seen from Greenville Triumph at times, one. Bill Hamid, that's an interesting pickup. I guess, Bill Hamid just wants reps. You're looking at Bolo Akinyoti. You've got Dalton Knutson that's there. Bonfilio, you mentioned him, who's pretty much lighting it up in every possible offensive category that's attached. And so, and Sebastian Blanco. So there are some folks there that you can sit there and go, yeah, okay, I can kind of see, what you're trying to get at when you're looking at all of those individuals. But yeah, Bill Hamid at the moment, Bill Hamid and Felipe Rodriguez in net. But yeah, Bill Hamid is not a name that I necessarily had on the bingo card for success for a franchise in 2025.
I don't think it's, I don't know. Maybe this is just because I watched the last match and he dropped an extremely comfortable save at the feet of Ronaldo Damas, and that's what ended up making him lose 2-1.
Yeah.
I've also, you've seen the bad of Hamid, but he also had matches against like San Antonio where he looked like old Bill Hamid, not like old Bill Hamid, but older in time Bill Hamid.
Yes.
And
earlier in his career, Bill Hamid.
Yes. And so it's still there. And you like what you see sometimes. I'm not sure if he sticks it out as the starting goalkeeper throughout the season, whether it be via injury or via just, not being the best keeper on the squad. But he started the season decently.
Okay, so then we go from the folks that are below the playoff bar. Let me ask you about Birmingham before we go all the way to the top. Mark Briggs, what has the integration been like with him on the touchline?
Man, he's different than Sohn. And I think fans are seeing that.
Yeah.
Briggs is like a media darling. Like he will talk to the media all day long. He wants to have conversations. He wants to get into the nitty-gritty of tactics. He won't reveal everything, but he'll say a lot because I mean everybody's watching film. It's not like there's secrets, right?
Yeah.
So he gets into it. And I think one thing that is different about him to Sohn is he has a very high emphasis on speed and pace. Meanwhile, Sohn was about kind of working the ball through the midfield. Take your time. Don't rush things. You know, we'll get to the final third and we have talent. We'll get there when we get there. When we get there, we'll score. But Briggs is kind of like, screw that. If we can score fast, why wouldn't we? So I think that's been the biggest change between the two is it's a lot more aggression out of a press. It's a lot faster. And there's been public accountability. Under Sohn, there wasn't like he didn't really talk to media, and that's fine. Not every coach does. That's not a requirement.
Yeah.
But Briggs is willing to use media as a way to talk to his players. Like he publicly called out players a few weeks ago of just like Tyler Pasher isn't doing this, but I talked to him and he's doing that now. Like this player is not doing this. This player is not doing this. And but he always follows it up with they're quality players who can do that. They can do that. They will do that. They didn't do that today, but they will. And so it's been a nice breath of fresh air because that's as much for the fans as it is for the players because fans see accountability at the microphone level. They don't get to go to practice and see players get chewed out. They get to see accountability be held at the microphone level, and Briggs has been providing that.
Okay, so let's go to the top of the East and look at where things are currently. It's Charleston, Lou City, and Loudoun. I know that seeing Charleston and Lou City is not a surprise. Loudoun, for those that might have missed the article that was in the Athletic about how things are at Loudoun, I guess my first question leading into these three at the top at Loudoun is, are things still the same at Loudoun as they were presented in the article in the Athletic?
Everything we're hearing is that things are kind of changing. Like things are getting marginally better, but marginally better on awful is still bad.
Yeah.
So there's that. Obviously, they let go of Oliver Gage, who he officially announced that he had moved on about a week ago, despite being fired about a month ago. I still think it's a poor situation. I think Loudoun is legit.
Yeah.
I think Loudoun is a legitimate title contender who, if you play them in the playoffs, you're terrified. But that's assuming that that their starting 11 stays healthy for the entire season. If they get hurt, judging by what you're hearing off the pitch, they're not going to replace that talent. They're just going to pray to God that their subs, who are not great, can pick up a slack. I think that worries me. But if you're talking about their 11 right now, they're so good. Atif Abukora is the best player in the league. Watch him any chance you get. He is just absolute magic. He's dynamite. He's going to play for a higher division, possibly Europe. Someone's going to pick him up, and he's going to be a superstar.
So then is Ryan Martin your coach of the year?
Until they completely fall off the face of the earth, he has been my coach of the month every single month.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Eamon Zayed. Like when you heard everything going on in NOCO and they were winning things, how could he not be your coach of the year?
Yeah.
Like he's doing more than anybody else.
Yeah. Before we go, I do want to talk League One and Super League, but we're still USL Championship. Kaylor Hodges at the USL Show, where he is running the gauntlet today. He's doing the guest car wash and the host car wash before they have their show tonight. Charleston and Lou City, the more that things change, the more that stays the same. Top of the table, and Charleston is the one that has lost twice, and Lou City has not lost yet at all this season. But once again, sunrise is in the East unless there's rain out your window, and it's Charleston and Lou City on top of the East.
Yeah, they're both just so good. I don't know what else to tell you. Louisville is missing starting striker contribution, where I think Stan Gleadle is kind of the guy, and you don't expect that when you have a Philip Goodrum on the squad. And granted, he got injured as he was getting hot, But also, if you don't remember Sam Gleadle at Monterey Bay, he's a jack of all trades and kind of a master of some of them. And scoring the ball is absolutely one. He is so good. He can play your back line. I think he has reps at center back. He has reps at fullback. He has reps in the midfield. And he's their starting striker because he can do that. And he is really good. For Charleston, I mean, pick who you want to score that day. They'll do it. I mean, Cal Jennings doesn't stop. MD Myers is a wonderful side piece to Cal Jennings. He does what he wants. If he gets the scraps, he'll get it. And Juan David Torres, best free kick taker in the league. And one of his teammates is Aaron Malloy, who I didn't even mention Aaron Malloy yet. That's how stacked that team is. It's gross. And Ben Pierman is awesome.
It's gross, and he's awesome. I see how that works. Western Conference now, and we mentioned Lexington, and it's like you sit there and you look at that one win, you're like, hey, wait a minute, they've only won once, but then you see, like you were saying, the 5 draws that they have so far this season, and I think that you're right. I think that you can look at it one of two ways. Then you end up with the street fight that is basically 6-11. You have the early returns of 6 teams separated by 3 points. Does that mean that that section of the Western Conference is that competitive, or is it that average?
Yes. I think that Oakland, Colorado Springs, and Vegas are that average. I think that Sacramento, Phoenix, and Phoenix kind of. Sacramento and Orange County specifically are really good teams that are underperforming. I think that Phoenix, if you are a believer of Madoka like I am, I think that they are a playoff team. But if you look at roster on paper, you're maybe not as convinced. I think that when you're looking at 9, 10, 11, you're seeing the 9, 10, 11 teams in the West. When you look at 6, 7, 8, I think you're looking at possible home playoff teams amongst those 3. So I think there's going to be a little bit of averaging out of the top 8. Maybe someone from the bottom 4, Lexington probably, rises to the top. But you can look at basically 3 through 8, and you can shuffle them in any order, and I'll believe you.
So if you see Lexington coming from lane 8 to come into the playoff picture, what team in that mess of folks would be the one that drops out? Because you can't have 9 teams for 8 spots when you're talking playoffs. Who would then be the one to fall down if Lexington would be the one to go in?
So this is hard because I think the logical answer is Phoenix. When you look at roster, I think that you could look at Sacramento and just say they're seriously underperforming, and they've shown glimpses, but are they going to do it? I think your more obvious answer might be higher up in the table, but it's still super tight, and it's Monterey Bay, where they had their hot start, but look at the teams they played. I hate to be that guy, but it kind of is what it is.
Won in their last 5 either.
Right. So I think if you're looking at form, Monterey Bay could be your team. I don't know. Somebody's going to fall out if Lexington rises, but yes, it's only 11 matches into the season for them. For some teams, it's 12, but it's an early hole to dig out of.
Up at the top, it is El Paso, and our buddy Duke Keith is getting a lot to celebrate early on in this year. They haven't lost in their last 5, 19 points, second place. This is the El Paso, I think, that folks anticipate year in and year out. They anticipate that team that is competing toward the top of the West, and the fact that it is what's the New Mexico rivalry?
Darby del Camino Real.
So that's what I think a lot of folks are anticipating, is that you always are going to have New Mexico and El Paso kind of joined at the hip, and it just so seems right now, 10 or 11 matches in, it's 1 and 2 in the West. What's it like to have Wilmer Cabrera and El Paso back up in the conversation toward home playoff matches, and then staring at New Mexico United at 1 and 2?
Other than the Hutchinson era at El Paso, I feel like it was a weird just time of bad vibes. Like tactics didn't seem horrible. It's just they were just doing weird things because vibes were bad. Like, I think they went through 2 seasons, they only won 1 or 2 matches at home. They couldn't win at home despite having an awesome fan base, El Paso, that is. And under Wilma Cabrera, they bring him home. He's a native guy from El Paso, and he got the reputation at RGV of the guy who does just enough. Well, when you look at the roster that El Paso had last year and a lot of the guys that they kept around, all they needed was just enough. And not to mention his son, Andy Cabrera, has been just crazy hot. He has been so good. He scores, he assists, he moves the ball around. And that's kind of a player they didn't really have, was somebody who can play up top, but drop into that midfield, connect the play. And then you look at New Mexico, where when you're looking at Darby del Camino Real, and you look at the fact they bring in Sanchez, they pry him away from Las Vegas, and he's kind of beaten the bugaboo that they had last year, which was if a team just decided to drop 5 players back and just be defensive the entire time, a la like a Bob Lilly team, like they were never going to win. They were awful. They figured it out. I mean, it's going to be a tight matchup. It's going to be a fun matchup. New Mexico has grown a lot since Quill. Did they take a step back from Quill? Yeah, because he's arguably the best manager in the league last year. But Sanchez is no slouch. Wilmer Cabrera is providing stability out west for El Paso that they much needed. And that's why you're seeing both teams 1 and 2.
Couple of announcements of markets also that have happened before we get into League One and Super League.
Yeah.
It is New Jersey has been added, and then you're also adding in another Florida market right now when it comes to USL. So, you got ProRel as a part of the discussion, and now you're getting back to adding markets. What's been the immediate feedback of these announcements by the USL about adding markets for the next couple of years?
I want to quote some players and owners and GMs that I've talked to throughout the years. The USL loves to announce crap. And until I see like an Atletico Dallas that they give me a branding and they tell me like we are starting next year, like confirmed we have players on the roster, I just believe that nothing's going to happen. Central Florida, like they just dropped the Fort Myers. Like they were going to have Fort Myers. They were looking at investing in buying the old Red Sox facility and transforming it to a soccer stadium. In the dead of the night, they just said, "No, we're not doing that." Then 2 days later, we get Central Florida. Okay. With Jersey, what are you looking at? Because it's not going to be Central Jersey, like has been reported from our good friend Ira Jersey, who it's so funny that the owner is, that's so funny to me. But Ira has been saying that they're going to go League One. What does that mean for them? It all means nothing until I see something.
League One, you've got. I mean, first off, I like the idea that we have 14 teams to talk about, where the numbers are growing, the geographic footprints are kind of sorting themselves out, and you get to add more teams as we go here. But it's weird to see 8 through 14, once again, separated by 4 points. But then you see who's attached to that mess where it's Union Omaha, which to me, that is the early stunner out of the blocks, that Union Omaha, yes, they've had other things to focus on, but they've only won once in their first 7 in league play. Then you've got Tormenta that's a part of it, but they're only 2 points out of a playoff spot. And you have the Drawmingos, for lack of a better word, at 1-1-6 in their first 8. In Greenville right now, because of wins, they're the team that is the 8 right now. So there's some really there's some odd bedfellows below the playoff line right now here, after this next 30 days that we've had here in the season.
The Union Omaha talk to me has been vastly overblown. If you look at Dom Casiato's first season at Union Omaha, they only won 2 of their first 15 matches, and then they became the best team ever. I think it was 22 straight wins. Union Omaha is going to figure it out. Like, I have yet. Are there things that are concerning? Yes, but that's also what happens when you lose 3 all-league players. Like, they're going to have time to figure it out, but they're going to figure it out. If we get halfway through the season and they're still rock bottom, then I'll panic, but
Okay.
I'm not there yet. For Forward Madison, they lost a lot of good players and they didn't truly replace. And I like Glasser as a coach. I think that they were looking for goal scorers. They recently added Luca Dorado. And I think that he could be a guy, but he's still a project. There's a lot kind of riding on the basis of the 3 center backs and goalkeeper for Madison, but they need goals, and they just don't have that right now. Westchester is super talented. They have all the talent in the world, but they just cannot seem to hold a lead. They've been doing more to score, but now they just can't keep a lead. The Double Birds out in Texoma are they're really bad, but they just manage to win sometimes. Like, they've won 2 games in a row and a draw. Like, all right. Greenville, let's say in our Southeast market, they have players. They have brought in a new player. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's super flexible,
Toby
midfield center back. Yes, thank you. Very good player. I'm worried. I am worried about Greenville. And I say that very lovingly because I have friends in the Greenville organization. There are people I'm very close to there, but I'm worried about them. They can turn around. They have the talent to turn it around, but they might have to make some hard decisions on some longtime players there.
Then up at the top, Naples and Spokane Velocity. I find that interesting too.
Naples, they've kind of fallen back down to earth a little bit after one of the funniest matches I've ever seen against Chattanooga.
Yes.
If just go watch that game, just please.
Oh.
I was in the middle of grading exams during that match, and every single time the ball just went up in the air and just stopped, I just laughed. I was just giggling the whole time. Naples feels like they've come down to earth a little bit, but they're still a top 4 team. Spokane, I mean, look at their roster. Why would they not be a top team in League One? They are incredible. The Chattanooga is the one that I would look at, though. They are defensively stout. They can hit you on a counter. They're efficient. They're nasty. They're dirty. They do all the things that make you hate playing them. And it's awful when it's your team. It's awesome when you're neutral.
Yay. Okay, Super League, what do folks need to know?
Final match this weekend. And we have it's a lot of parity going on here. So you're looking at the Trinity, the Zephyr, and Fort Lauderdale, and Brooklyn, all with a chance to get in to the playoffs. It is not looking great for Brooklyn after they were the best team, easily the best team in the league. Carolina ends up securing that first ever Players Shield after Brooklyn looked like they were going to run away with it, but they did not win their first match in the spring season until like March or April. They have fallen off big time. So this is the final week. You can Brooklyn's eliminated. Did not realize that. DC Power and Lexington are playing each other. That you don't have to watch that. So Fort Lauderdale, Spokane, Dallas, that is your matchups to see what's going on. The playoffs start next week or in 2 weeks, and it's going to be really, really fun. If you have not watched these teams, there are some superstars for this, especially Carolina team. They are really good. The Tampa Bay Sun are very fun. They're very aggressive in the press. They have good goalkeepers. A good goalkeeper as well. Fort Lauderdale, speaking of Hamid, Jasmine Hamid, the sister of Bill Hamid, is one of the best players in the league on top of Addie McCain. And if you want to watch, when I say superstar, I'm talking about serious superstar. If I still get my vote for the end of the season, it's not even going to be close. Ekich for Spokane is the best player in the league. And one of the people that we collaborated before with, I mean, she referred to her as the Super League's Kevin De Bruyne. Like, can spray the ball anywhere, can score a goal, set piece specialist. Just she is so good, and you need to watch Spokane just to watch Ekich because she is that special of a player.
10-6 for Amina Ekic in Spokane right now. So basically, she's T3. She's T4 in goals right now with Addie McCain from Fort Lauderdale United, and in assistances, she is T2 in the league for Spokane Zephyr. All right, so hit me. What's going on with the rest of the day and tonight with the at the USL Show?
Before I came on here, we had the Semi-Pro USL Show, which is a daily show that we do at 9:30 every single morning, and we're hitting all of the League Two and W League action. So if you want to hear a little bit about W League and League Two, we talk about every single match that happens whenever the match reports are available, and we'll give you the goal scored, the formations, all the stuff. Tonight we have our normal USL Show action, where we're just going to talk about Super League, League One, Championship, and possibly our exclusive interview if it does drop tonight. And then we have kit season. So if you like kits, if you like the fashion of football, we have that for you as well. It's all available on our YouTube channel and
when are you heading to Portland?
That is July 25th, which we have somewhat confirmed that we will be participating in the pregame oyster shots.
Okay. Well, that's got to be out on video. As always, my friend, it's break glass, and we know we need to catch up with you when it comes to news and notes and things. Otherwise, we'll be catching up with you on the 24th of June to get the runaround of everything USL. At Kaylor Hodges, at the USL Show. As always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you. Be safe. Enjoy the dry situation and have a good show tonight. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend. There goes Kaylor Hodges. He's going to go stay as dry as humanly possible between now and his redacted show at 1 o'clock, and then the at the USL Show tonight where they get everything. But I did not know. But that's good to know that they have the USL League Two, the W League show that they have every morning that match reports come out. So that's very, very cool as well. Okay. Before we get out of here, we do have an update in Liverpool within the last half hour. A 53-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder, dangerous driving offenses. Detective Chief Superintendent Karen Jondrel has a 53-year-old man from West Derby arrested on suspicion of attempted murder, dangerous driving offenses, and driving while unfit through drugs. Remains in custody where he's being interviewed. 65 casualties, she says. Specialist officers providing support to the victims. Extensive CCTV inquiries, according to The Guardian, are being carried out to establish the movements of the Ford Galaxy that was identified as the vehicle that went into the parade route. And the driver of the Ford Galaxy followed an ambulance to access Water Street, according to Chief Constable Sims. She had the morning press conference about a half hour ago, thanking witnesses who came forward with information, saying that prior to the incident, hundreds of thousands lined the streets to pay tribute to Liverpool. More than 50 people injured and treated at hospital. 11 remain and are stable and recovering well. Merseyside Police, quote, had worked extensively, end quote, to build a robust traffic management plan, including road closures on the route in city center. Water Street was closed to traffic, she says, and confirms it is now believed that the driver of a Ford Galaxy was able to follow an ambulance after a roadblock was temporarily lifted so that the ambulance crew could attend to a member of the public suspected of having a heart attack. Assistant Chief Constable Sims says that there, quote, there was no intelligence to suggest an event such as this would take place, and adds that the incident, once again, not being treated as terrorism. The investigation is ongoing. Police are asking people not to speculate and to refrain from sharing distressing content online. So that press conference started a little less than an hour ago, and so that is where we are with the latest out of Liverpool. And so once again, obviously, sporting director exit for Paul Mitchell. Obviously, him leaving the club, that has come across as a bit of a shock this morning, and obviously keeping an eye on all of that. Paul McInnes article at The Guardian is, 50 FIFA is, quote, arguably more poorly governed today than it was 10 years ago. Figures from across the world of football have argued in an open letter to the organization. And it is on Fair Square, which is where fairsq.org. And it is a joint statement. NGOs, academics, writers, whistleblowers, and football supporters groups among those who today condemn serious ongoing misgovernance at football's world governing body FIFA in a joint statement published on the 10-year anniversary of the arrests of senior FIFA officials in Switzerland. The arrests 10 years ago at the Bar Al-Alaq and the U.S. Department of Justice prosecutions that followed prompted a series of internal reforms at the global governing body. The joint statement argues the reforms, quote, failed to usher in a new era of responsible governance at FIFA and that the organization is, quote, arguably more poorly governed today than it was 10 years ago, end quote. Largely attributes the failure of the reform process to the existence of, quote, a model of patronage within FIFA, which, quote, disincentivizes ethical conduct and precludes effective internal reform, and describes the most serious consequences of this both on and off the pitch. Signatories of the joint statement included academics from South Africa, Brazil, the U.S., India, and the UK. Research has identified the most critical problems with FIFA's governance model. Lawyers from Switzerland, where FIFA is headquartered, Fair Square, and Fair Game, which are promoting fairer and better governance in football, and NGOs addressing a diverse range of issues impacted by FIFA's operations, from tax justice to the climate crisis to human rights in Saudi Arabia. That is over at fair, FAIRSQ.org, if you wish to go and read that particular statement. So that is from that's from The Guardian today, as that was posted on the 10-year anniversary of the Bar Al-Alaq arrests as we go. Let's see if there's anything else that is posted. Martin Ziegler did a follow-up also at the Times involving that particular anniversary as well. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we've missed. Let's see. I think that we got it covered. So once again, thanks to Kaylor Hodges for dropping by today. Thanks to Maddie Cruz for dropping by today. And just to remind everybody about what's going on tomorrow, we're taping an interview with Mike Gramajo over at West TV in Orlando. We're going to talk about the Purple Team. That's going to air tomorrow. Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes is going to join us at 9:15. Hopefully our buddy Dylan Butler can join us at 10 o'clock to talk about everything going on in Major League Soccer as we get ready for the midweek. And then Mike Gramajo's interview will air at 10:30 tomorrow, in the 10 o'clock hour tomorrow to be safe, but at 10:30 tomorrow at the latest for the preview of the Atlanta United and the Purple Team, obviously. And then we're going to catch up with Atlanta United 2 head coach Steve Cook and prepare for the matchup against Red Bulls 2, talk about what happened against OCB on Sunday night, where they get a 3-0 win and a downpour on a very sloshy surface in Kissimmee, Florida. And they come back. They're here for a couple of days, and then they're going to race up to New Jersey. And they're going to take on Red Bulls 2 at Montclair Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Thursday, Nino and Nico in the Power Hour at 10 o'clock hour on Thursday. And then Friday, it's the chaos to get you ready for the weekend. We'll be covering pretty much anything and everything, all divisions, all the games, all the things to go across the board. So once again, tonight, if you are so inclined, take a peek at the USL Show and find out what's going on with Kaylor Hodges, John Morrissey, and their band, and find out what's going on there in the championship in League One, etc. And if you're into the League Two stuff and the lower divisions, go ahead and tune into them first thing in the morning. So you literally have their show when it's up and running. You have Morning Espresso when Jason's up and running, and you have us from 9 to 11 whenever. So that's your daily dose of everything going on here this time of year. So once again, thanks to all of you folks for being a part of our dailiness, as we say. And as always, great to see everybody in Planet John. Thanks for dropping by as well to discuss everything that we have here. Thanks to everybody who is in the Twitch pitch, and thanks to all of you folks for listening and watching us every single day. So for those of us here at SDH, thanks to all of you folks. We'll be back at it again at 9:05 tomorrow morning. Mucho Platiel, play it safe, since it is the end of the show. That means we get to do this. Back at it again in a little less than 22. See you then.